Hi, it's Andrew Eborn here again with another episode of the Andrew Eborn Show, subtly called. I'm delighted that my guest is yet again the wonderful Martin Cox. How are you doing, Martin?
Hello.
Welcome
Oh,
back.
thank you. Well, like I said, I had to pop out. I had to do my hair.
I thank you.
It's getting in my eyes.
It's always good. Now, last time we were together, we were talking about magic and magicians and separating the good from the bad and the personalities from the people just out there to do tricks. And we were saying that anybody can become a magician. And anybody can go to buy a packet of tricks or get something out of a Christmas cracker and call themselves a magician. The difference is that you want people to book you as a personality, and it doesn't matter what vehicle it is, whether it's comedy, whether it's magic, whether it's singing, they're booking you. And that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a big deal. I mean, I had this not thing against, because I think that's the wrong, but magic is one of them only professions that you could go to a shop or go online, buy 3 or 4 tricks, learn them tricks, and then go out as a magician. And I find that really one of those really odd things that there's no regulation, there's no body of people who say, right, yeah, you have to do. Any other profession, you have to do that with. Even acting, you have to, most people have gone to drama school or gone to further education to do that. Magic has not got any basis. Like anybody can go out, buy a couple of tricks, and then start going out and earning. And I had nothing against people going and earning money. And yeah, you get good quality and you get bad quality of magic. But the problem with that is that we all get tarred with the same brush. You know, if they book a bad magician, the next time they have an event, they're not going to book a magician.
And that's the problem.
Because they've had one bad one.
And that's the problem, because you're turning around and saying, and the current difficult situation where a lot of people don't have jobs to go back to, they're going to look and say, look, what can we do? And you see, here's a children's entertainment, or they've seen a magician, or they say, hang about, I can organize a few party tricks, and I can do that. I can learn that. What's your advice to them?
Don't do it. I can change a plug and a light bulb. I'm not going out as an electrician. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying maybe there is people out there who teach. There's people out there who do courses in magic and to be better magicians. Do that first. Go down that route. Don't just go out there, buy something off the internet and or look. Another thing, don't learn off the internet, but, because we are slowly becoming robotic in our performance, and Zoom is a prime example for that. Is that we in our heads we think, oh, okay, we've got to start doing Zoom shows. I'm guilty of that. I've got to start doing Zoom shows, but I'm still trying to make sure that you're getting my personality. And it's very difficult because I'm not getting that instant feedback from your audience through Zoom. So there is that. I find that a big issue and a problem at the moment in my head. I'm finding the right material that would work. There is some guys out there who've done the wrong material, don't know how it looks when they're doing it, and they're just going and doing it and totally, say, exposing magic, I suppose, or not really thinking about what they're doing, their setting, what's behind them, stuff like that. Like me today, I'm not really realised that my bit of my kitchen is in shot. So that's my own fault. I should have turned it a little bit more this way. But
No, I think it was deliberate, because if you look over your other shoulder, you've got a picture of a cup. What's that cup for?
Oh, that one is my wife's. It was awarded to my wife.
Glorious. What did you win that for?
One are all up there.
Oh, is that how it works?
Mine.
Yeah. So what did your wife get her cup for?
I can't remember. Let me have a look.
You can't remember? And it's in the shot?
Oh, services.
Service. What sort of services?
Oh, it was for when company she used to work for. I'd give her a cup for servicing. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? Yeah. For her services, you know what I'm saying? She's good at her job. She's working from home at the moment, and I heard us talking to her boss and was complaining about sexual harassment at work.
See, you can't.
See, you got it. You got it. You got it.
You've got to be good. You've got to be good. It's fantastic. So, what is your wife's job?
She works for a IT company. She does administration and sends out invoices and stuff. So luckily,
and you got a cup. You got a cup for invoicing.
No, that was from the company she worked from before. Not for this one. This is a new company. She changed jobs a few years ago.
So once you got the cup, that's it. You just
she got the cup, and she left.
There's nothing further you can do at that company.
She just went, "Is that it? You're giving me this all these years, and I'll just get this cup."
No, but I understand. It looks quite a nice cup, and if you're allowed to keep it,
it's okay. You notice that it's in the cupboard. It's not on top of the cupboard where all mine are.
It's in shot. You were talking about important things being in shot and how there's deliberate. And you got the kitchen. You got a picture of the cup. That's the only award I can see.
Maybe if I come back, I'll put one of my awards.
That would be outrageous. I was thinking this is a glorious family moment. That in spite of being an award-winning magician, and you'll know as a regular watcher of the show that I'm been desperately in search of somebody who's a magician who's not award-winning, because that's what I want to do. I want to have somebody who's not an award-winning magician.
But listen to this, okay? My introduction to my show, my actual stage show, is, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from London, England, a man who's won nothing. Right? Because so many magicians list a big list of awards before they come on stage, and now you've got to prove yourself to live up to all them awards. Don't give yourself that pressure. So I say, he hasn't won anything. Here he is.
And it's a much better way of doing it, because you're right. So many people are obsessed with having one thing. But you have won stuff, though, haven't you? What have you won?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've won a few things.
What have you won?
Been disqualified as well.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, disqualified from many competitions. I won British champion of magic when I had a double act called Cosmic many years ago at Blackpool, 2003. I remember that because she actually said £2.03, which is quite funny. And I've won a few other things. I don't really like to.
Well, so who was the other person in the act at Cosmic?
Kerry Scorer. Do you remember Kerry?
Oh, that's even worse when you say, do you remember her? Of course I do.
No, I mean, not in that way.
Oh, do you remember her? Like, do you remember her career? It's rather like pantomime. It's behind her. That's awful to say.
No, you're twisting my words there. You're twisting my words because I know you've seen Cosmic.
I know, and Kerry's a wonderful actor as well. So what happened? What happened?
What? How do you mean?
Why did the act stop?
Oh, because it only really worked for magicians. It didn't really work for the general public. Because our undertone script, I don't think that people don't understand the relationship between a magician and their assistant. And that's where it fell down. It worked really well for magicians, but it didn't work so well. And there were some other things that happened that I don't really want to go into. And it sort of just grew apart, really.
Really? And was it like a relationship as well?
No. What do you mean? No. Great comedy timing. Brilliant comedy timing. And her brief was to try and make me laugh. Corpse on stage was one of the underlying things. And the other thing was that the inner script, because this is very important, people forget about this, but the inner script is that she was roped in at the last minute because my other assistant wasn't well, and she doesn't really want to be there. And that did come across really, really well and worked really well for us in that respect. It did work very, very well. But we sort of just went separate ways, really. Yeah, well, let's just say that we went separate ways.
Because
there's no bitterness and there's no.
There's a little bit of unfinished business, but I think
no, not really. Certain things happened, and that's why. You know,
what sort of things happened?
I don't want to say really, because that's not fair. It's not fair, is it? Now people are going to go on me. What happened? But
you brought it up in the nicest possible way. I mean,
no, you started down that. You pushed me into that corner. And now I'm putting
what I love about this, Martin, is firstly, it's a great premise. It's like the great Tom Sony did exactly the same thing, didn't he? He sort of turned around because people, we touched on comedy last time, and people find it funny when you go against the expected. So you expect a magician's assistant to, the old traditional one, and they hop in the box, they get hacked to pieces, put back together, magician does ta-da. It's great, and it's funny when the assistant doesn't conform to the norm. That's a great premise. And the great Tom Sony did that, and be filing the nails and doing that sort of stuff and picking her teeth and all those glories. It's a very funny premise, isn't it?
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's it worked very, very well. And what happened is I'd done Blackpool Magic Convention. I'd done my act, but I didn't win anything. And afterwards, I got talking to Kerry. She was with someone else at the time. They were married, and I got chatting to Kerry about. She was quite surprised that I wasn't talking to her partner more than her, because normally magicians, if they take their other halves anywhere, the magicians talk and the partners get left. Well, side, nobody talks to the partner, you know what I mean? Especially if they're known, if the magician's known. And I always fought against that because my wife was in my original act. When I started, she was my box jumper for a little while, and then so I talked to Kerry, and she was quite surprised that I was interested in her as well as her other half. And then after I'd done my thing, we were just chatting, and I said I was looking for an assistant because I got some ideas, and she said, "Oh, I'll do it," and that's how it came. And we had a meeting, and we wrote the act. And some of the stuff, unfortunately, was singular, but I put it in the act. But now it won't work singular, if you see what I mean. The famous sitting on the spike thing was something we did together. We wrote together, and again, you know, she, like I said, great natural comedy timing she had, which you can't really teach anybody that. They either have that. I don't think you can teach that, and she had that so in abundance and stuff, and that thing of trying to make me just turning around and talking to somebody in the wings really was like in my head. I'm on stage and she does that, and I'm like, oh, that's genius. That's brilliant, you know what I mean? And that sort of, you know, I don't really want to do that sort of attitude. It come across so well, and so many people actually thought we were related, that she was my daughter, and that I just dragged her into the act, which again was great. Not for me, because she's only a few years younger than me, which would have meant some really weird things going on when I was about 6, or 7, maybe 10. But you know, so that was all really good. And then, you know, it came to the point we done a couple of public shows, and it didn't really work. And I don't know whether that was bad writing on my behalf, because we wasn't conveying that to a real audience. Magicians got it straight away, so it worked. I dare say we could have done this sort of convention tour and all that thing could have worked. And then we sort of just drifted apart, if you like. Let's say that. We drifted apart in the fact that she started doing other projects, I was doing other projects. We didn't really have time to get together, and then it just parted. And there were some other things that happened. Yeah, some other things that happened that made it difficult to come back into reforming it, if you like. I had considered reforming it, and she'd considered reforming and getting back together and doing something together, but it just doesn't feel right anymore. So that's sort of dead now.
Yeah, and it's always interesting. What I love about this platform is that we never have those sort of little sound bites where you can just sort of turn around and say, okay, we've run out of time now. We don't have enough time to do this. It gives people an opportunity to set the record straight, because this industry is polluted with people speculating and things like that. And you were great together. It was a hilarious act. It was fantastic. It was award-winning. You know, we worked on that sort of basis. You bounced off each other very, very well. And so when people speculate. If you don't have the sort of peek beneath the kimono, firstly, it's none of their business. Right. But secondly, relationships fall apart for whatever reason, don't they?
Yeah. Oh no. Again, we're really good friends. We talk now and again. We've done gigs together as close-up friends and stuff. So there's no bitterness there or anything like that. There's nothing like that. I may be making it sound, because I don't want to bring other names into it. This is where I am with that, is that I don't want to bring other names, because I think she was advised by some other people to distance herself from me, if you see what I mean. I think that's what happened. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what happened, and that's what made that wall between us start, if you know what I mean. That gap. But we're great friends and we chat, and I mean, I dare say she'd say the same. I'm not sure, but she might. Now, if she sees this, she might not like me as much. But I don't think I've said any. I'm not blaming. I'm not saying blaming. We all get into that where we're told certain things and we believe that, so we do that because we think that's right for us, and maybe it's not.
And this is what we were touching on last time about the profession, because the profession is what happens. And this is why we say sometimes because it's self-preservation. People want to take down other people's success, and they may not say it directly to your face, but they might chip away at it behind the scenes, and that must really hurt, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, many people have that misconception of what happened with the you know what I'm talking about, this with me and this situation, and I think people got the wrong idea from that, and then the actual clip got sold to a TV company, and then there was a big rigmarole with what happened there. And I think I set the record straight. I'd done the Magic Word podcast. I think I sort of set the record straight there of what actually happened.
But we'll come on to that, because it's the perfect opportunity. And this is what I love about it, is so often perception and reality are not aligned. And so often you hear third parties giving an account of an event. Yeah. And you say, well, I don't recognise that. That's not what happened. Because you were there. And what I love about this, it's an opportunity. So we should lay this to rest once and for all, because so many people speculate about what happened with you and Kerry and so on and so forth. I get it, that people, they spend a lot of time together, they drift apart, they might get advised by certain people, look, it's not working, you've got your own career, move on. Is that what happened?
More or less, yeah. Oh, you're so good at this, mate, aren't you? You're really good. I said that's why I like the show and stuff, because you have that People have said that you're like Parkinson and stuff. You know, you just bring it out. And I'm not even drinking. I don't drink anymore, but you know, normally get people a little drunk to open up a bit. But you're very good at this, mate. Isn't it? I'm very good. Yeah. What was she saying?
I wasn't going to stop you when you're praising me. I think that's I'd never.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
No, but it's right though, Martin, because I can tell from your body language that it still hurts, doesn't it?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. But again, like I said, I wouldn't put the blame on anybody for that. This is my perception of how it was. This is how I feel everything is, and I think because we sort of covered on this a bit, you make that excuse for that happening. I think what you were saying earlier on when we talked earlier about that, what you've got in your mind. I have this thing with the circle at the moment where I feel it's a little bit clicky, and I think I'm seeing things from my perspective, and I don't see anything changing there. I've seen some changes there, and I've seen some things happen there, and then I think, well, why has that happened? And then, you know, and then I analyse it, and I'm very vague. I'm sorry, I'm being very vague. I shouldn't be this vague, but I don't want to put myself in that situation where I get banned from the magic circle. I get thrown out of the magic circle because I'm putting it under because I have this dispute that if you put it in a bad light type of thing, you can be thrown out, if you see what I mean. Publicly. I understand that. I wouldn't.
Nobody wants the magic circle to be in a bad light, but at the same time, when there are issues to be addressed, it's important because we all want the best thing. We want the best society. We want the reality. The honest answer is like most societies and most societies in this profession, it can be a society of egos. The ego has landed, as they say. And that's the nature of the beast. So a lot of people, they don't understand. And I'm all for one. I'm all for jaw, not war. Let's talk about the misconceptions. Let's stop people spreading the rubbish. And I think the more the better.
Okay, so the thing is that I always said that I feel like the child outside the sweet shop who's standing outside the sweet shop, and I can't go into that sweet shop because I haven't got the money, or I haven't got this, or I haven't got that, so I'm not allowed in the sweet shop. And I've always felt that about the circle. I mean, the thing is, how I got in to the circle was, I think, threefold things happened. One is I run my own magic club because I used to belong to a magic club, and I found it horrible, little magic club, and I found it really a horrible place to go. I was advised to go to join a magic club. I joined a local magic club, and they were so horrible, and they didn't give any advice or help you in any way, shape, or form. And I started off as a juggler. I juggled for a while, and then I got into magic big time, and I met some great people, and that infused me to become a magician. And then, like I said, I joined this magic club, and I found it really, there was no, like I said, no advice, no help. I asked about turning professional. I asked about what I should charge, how I should go, and there was no help at all. So I decided to open my own magic club. So I opened my own magic club, and I made it so that if you came to that magic club and you wanted help with anything, the rule was that you gave it. That was the rule. That was the major rule. And I had some really good people join that club. Wayne Fox was a member, and Clockwise was a member.
Both have been on the show. Both have been on the show.
Thank you. Mel Partner. There was some really good guys. And I got some of the biggest lecturers going around. Amar come and lectured for us. Aldo Colombini lectured for us. Simon Lovell, David Roth. I got all the really big names came over. They lectured, and people kept asking me, "How do you get them people to lecture for your little club?" And it's because I asked, and we paid. That's how it was. I asked. I had someone's. Amar was an example of this. I called the person who was booking Amar at the time, and they said no, he wouldn't come and lecture. It was too small. So I didn't have that. Oh no. So I rung Amar in the States. I found his number. I phoned him. I said, I understand you're doing a lecture tour. I know you're going to be in this area. You're quite close. You could drop in, do our club thing. And he went, yeah, I'll do it. That was it. And then I got a call back from the guy saying, oh, Michael's been on the phone. He said he will do your club. And the thing is that I have no fear of talking to big names. I don't have any fear, because in my head, we're all people. We're all the same. Inside, we're all the same. We all have the same feelings. We all have the same. We are all the same. And I don't, like I said, I don't treat anybody differently if they've got a name or they're famous or anything. I've no problem. I mean, when I first met Paul Daniels, he had this car boot sale, then going magic car boot sale in his garden. And we went to that, and I went up and started chatting to him, and people were like, "Oh, do you know him?" And I went, "No, I've never met him before." But you know, and he was great, and we had a good chat and stuff. So Aldo Colombini had just lectured at the Magic at my club, and I went to the Magic Circle, and I walked through the door. Aldo saw me. He'd stayed at my house. He saw me, and he was talking to some of the big names in Magic at the time. And as I walked in, he just said, "Oh, it's Martin." And he just walked and gave me a big hug in front of everybody. And I guess everybody went, "Well, who the heck is that?" You know. And then next time I went, Faye said, "Hello, Martin, how you doing?" And I said, "Oh, hi, Faye, how you doing?" And people went, "Who's this Martin bloke? Because he knows Faye, he knows Aldo." And then Paul Daniels was on stage, and I was sitting in the audience. And as he came down, he looked at me and went, "Oh, nice time, Martin." So I think all this, like, wow, this guy knows people. There's that type of attitude. And then when I'd done my exam, it was in the old club. I'd done my exam. The guy on before me was so nervous, he was like this. And then I went out and I looked, and there was Pat Page, Alan Shapton, oh dear, all the big names had come in to see my audition. And I looked and I went, in my head, it was like, oh. So I turned my back on them, and in my head, I just went, they're just people, just be yourself. And I turned around, I've done it, and I got in. Whether that was because I shut their names out of my head. And the same thing happened to me when I went to Factors, you know, some of the biggest close-up magicians in the world are sitting, watching you, and the rule is you have to perform. And I went out, and it was like, oh my God, you know, there's Harrison, and Pat Page was there, and all that, and it was just really a weird thing that happened, and I didn't hear any laughs, and I came off, and I went back to my room, and I hid in my room, and I cried. And I just kept thinking, why am I here? Why did I get invited? And I had this plan that I was gonna sneak in the morning, go and get breakfast, and then go and hide in my room for the rest of the convention, and just go out and get food and come back, forage, if you like. Because I just thought, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. And then when I went out in the morning to get breakfast, two of the French magicians stopped me in the hallway. "Ah, you were so funny. You were so funny last night." Oh, okay. And then I got to the restaurant for breakfast, And David, do you know David Sandy, who was then president of the IBM, called me, come sit with us, come sit with us. I went and sat for breakfast with them, and he said, oh my God, I couldn't stop laughing last night. You were so funny. And I think I call it deafness, stage deafness. You don't hear the audience's reaction. And I'm thinking, really? I didn't think I've done that well. And he said, you do that joke with the balloon, don't you? I saw you do that in Blackpool the time ago. Yeah. You didn't do it. And I went, well, no, it doesn't really fit that act. That's all I got all the way through the convention, and famous magicians coming up to me, David Regal and Ali was there and stuff. I became really good friends with Ali. I've got a nice picture of Ali up here in my living room. My children are really annoyed about why have you got a picture of a complete stranger? And it was just really a weird sensation that they liked me for who I was, and not because I'd won all these awards and stuff. You know what I mean? That you know. So when I got into the circle, it was great. And then I moved up and got the AIMC. I'd done the exam for that. I failed the first time. I got it the second time. And then I became a member of the Inner Magic Circle, which is brilliant. I love it. But now it's turned a corner, and I think it's gone back to an old sort of almost cliquey situation there, and it just grates on me. And again, I feel like the kid outside the sweet shop, and how I describe it. So now in my head, it's like I'm just thinking, I'm just going to treat it. It's a magic club, okay? I was an examiner for the Magic Circle for a while, and I used to examine people when they come and done their auditions. And Rob is doing a great job. I'm not dishing Rob a tie. I think he's doing a brilliant job. But over the last few times, there's been conflict between me and some of the other people who judge. There's been a bit of conflict, and I've decided to step away and not do it anymore, because I can't justify being an examiner anymore. Yeah, I just can't justify it at all. And because of the different levels, skill levels and knowledge levels that are within the examiners, there's so much difference. And I find that really difficult if I'm with somebody who hasn't got that knowledge. I mean, I work really, really hard on what I do on my magic and stuff, and I resource and I look and I try and find out where it's from. Or if I think I've invented something, I will research it and make sure that it is an original idea from me. I mean, I do this plunger move in one of the routines I do, and I found out that Vernon used to do a similar thing. So I don't credit myself for it anymore. So this is a variation of Vernon's plunger move. So I'm very particular about that, and I recognise things when I see things and stuff like that. And I think that some of the examiners don't. And you've got to be fair. If you think about it, it's a club for amateurs and professionals, but there's no distinction when you become a member. You're a member. All right, you can move up and get AIMC, and you can be awarded MIMC for recognition, for whatever, which is great. Okay, I like that system. Andy tried to change that a little bit, and nothing really came of that. But I think there needs to be some sort of thing to say you are a professional magician. You know what I mean? Maybe it should come from the circle. But now I'm just going to treat it just like a club, because that's what it's become to me. It's become a nice place to go, and I just want to be a member. I don't want to do anything else with it. I must admit that I am doing something for the Young Magicians Club. That's because I got asked, and I think it's important that they know about crediting, because there's a lot of that goes on that they don't credit people for things. And I've had an issue with another famous magician over a particular move, which now I've taken out of my lecture, and I've stopped crediting anybody for it, and I'm not teaching it to anybody anymore, because it's just not worth pursuing it and saying, no, you're wrong. Or he thinks that I stole the idea from him. I'm saying that I came up with this independently, but we can't come to an agreement. So it's easier for me just to say, well, okay, keep it, have it. You won't get credited anymore in my lecture for it. I won't. I'm not going to use it or teach it to anybody anymore. I'm going to use it in my act because I've been doing it for years. But I'm not going to. You know. And I went back to the original. It's just a add-on to an original move, and so it's just it can get very nasty and horrible and stuff. And it's just I don't see it at all. It just really aggravates me. I did consider standing for council, for Magic Circle Council, but when I saw who else was standing, and I know this is going to be a bit naughty, who else was standing, I just had no confidence in it. I've got no confidence in it at all, and I just think, well, I'll just treat it like a club. I'll probably get in trouble for that, but that's how I feel.
Are you
And
worried?
it shouldn't feel like that.
No, you're right. You shouldn't feel like that, and I think it's important that people who have differing views are brought to the table, because it's only by surrounding yourself with diverse views that you can move ahead. If you surround yourself with yes people, you're going to get more of the same, aren't you?
Yeah, but this is a battle that's been going for years, isn't it? This is one of those things that's been happening within that organisation for years and years, and it hasn't changed at all. And I don't think, even if I stood and I got on, I don't think we're going to make that much difference. And I think a lot of people, again, there was this big. I didn't particularly support the person that this happened to. I can understand why it happened, but then I don't understand that the society have been trying to railroad this person for a long time. I can understand why they were doing that. I can understand why they were doing that, and I didn't support them when they got banned. They say, I didn't support them in that way. I'm with them. I understand that. I think it was wrong the way it was dealt with. This situation was dealt with. I think it was wrong. But then again, they didn't recognise that they can use this person in such a positive, in such a good way, and they've not done that. They can't. For some reason they can't see that. And this happens in performers there, that they have really good performers that the general public come and see and like. But because the general people like them, they don't use them anymore because they're more popular than someone else there who's more important to them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know, and I think it's really important, Martin, as well. That, and what I try to do on this show is to make sure there's balance and make sure that if anybody's referenced and things like that, that they have an opportunity to come on and put their views. And also sometimes with any club, you're going to get internal conflicts and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And unless you look at all the evidence, then basically you get the headlines. Like we had the headline today about Russian interference with elections. And the headline was not Russian interference with the elections. The headline was the winning party, the government, didn't bother to ask the questions.
Right.
That's the headlines. They turn around and so the committee had been on for what felt like an eternity, sort of turn around and say, well, they lied about this and they lied about that, and this is untrue. But the big headline, when asked about, has there been Russian interference, they say, well, we don't know. The most shocking thing for us is they didn't look at it. And so it's those sort of things where and this is it was P.T. Barnum who said that if you want to draw a crowd, start a fight.
Right.
What happens, it's human nature. It's what I touched on beforehand. There's a lot of conflict. And I don't, in spite of being a lawyer, I don't like conflict. What I like is resolution. But
Yeah.
sometimes you need to have the conflict and don't battle away, don't run away from it. You need to work out, address the issues, because then you get resolution. And societies will all have their own internal problems, and we don't turn around and wash our dirty linen in public. What we try and do is
Right.
resolve.
Right.
But at the
No,
same
that's
time,
true.
don't brush it under the carpet, because there are issues and there are people who need to raise those issues and to say, as I say, jaw, talk about things, not war. Don't have open battles where both sides say, you're right, you're wrong, we're never going to talk. And what I love is to get people on and try and resolve those differences.
But isn't people with the biggest guns always win? And I haven't got a very big gun.
But do you, I mean, and it is interesting because we've touched on this beforehand, and I can tell that beneath that joking exterior, it's always dismissed with a joke. It's the laugh that hides the hurt. And you're very hurt about this, aren't you?
I think so, yeah. I think so. I think we have our own perception of what things are and what things should be. And maybe if that don't live up to that, it hurts internally. But when you see things, I suppose it's that it's not fair type in your head, and people say you don't understand that unless you've lived it. If you see what I mean. Going back to Black Lives Matter, someone said to me recently, "You don't understand because you're not black." And I think that, no, I think that's wrong. You can understand. You can understand that because we have empathy. I can empathise. I can empathise with certain groups and with certain people, and I have lived some of that sort of thing. But okay, so when I was at school, I'm dyslexic. Okay, it wasn't recognised when I was at school. You were put in a lower class where all the kids who misbehaved went or didn't want to learn, but that's because they wasn't shown the right way to learn or wasn't given that right guidance to learn. Okay, and in the end I taught myself techniques and ways to get around my dyslexia. Okay, fortunately now, when they go to schools, they recognise it and there's help there. Okay, but I had that bullied at school. I had that stigma of not being able to read or write properly, and you rise above it and you work techniques out and ways of getting around that, and we do that. So when someone says to you, you don't understand, because I don't think that's true. You can understand, you can empathise, and like you said, if you talk about it, they dismiss. You get dismissed of your intelligence because you didn't go to university. You get dismissed because the words you write, the way you speak. Sometimes people don't realise that we all go out with a mask, if you like, a mask on. We all go out with that, what people see us as and what we really are. We all do it. We all do it. If I go to a private, if I go to a function with my wife, I've always got that crutch, if you like, that pack of cards with me. I'll never go anywhere without a pack of cards. I've always got that crutch in case I need. Luckily, I don't always need it, and I can socialise with people really well. I'm very good at socialising with people and talking to complete strangers. I have no thing of that. But when we go out, sometimes I am very quiet. I'm quiet, and I'll sit in the corner. If we go to weddings, I'll sit and just talk to the people that are around me. I don't constantly, unless someone comes to me and asks me to go, and then I put that persona on. I put that mask and that suit on, and I'm out there being, you know, oh, yeah, this jolly this up, this make everybody happy type of mental. But inside, it's not very comfortable. I say to people, I'm very shy. I am very shy. But I have that character that I put on to go out and be more thingy. And I wouldn't say intelligence doesn't come from going to university or anything like that. When I first moved from London to Hertfordshire, they put me in a higher grade of English class because of the words I was using when they talked to me. They put me in a real high class, and then I had to. I faked it. I faked it for 2 lessons, and then by the 3rd lesson, I had to go to the teacher and go, look, really, I'm not very good at reading and writing, because they hadn't got my records from my previous school yet. So from just chatting to the deputy head and the head teacher, they put me in a high class for English because of the words I used and the way I used them when I was 13. You know, so education and because you went to university or because you went on to further education doesn't make you more intelligent. It just means that you had that opportunity to do that. And someone asked me what my regret was, and I did get the opportunity to stay on at school for another year, but in the 5th year, it didn't move up to the you know, the further education year. I'd have done the repeated a year, but the stigma of that repeating a year would have been so horrible, and it was hard times at home. I needed to get a job to help bring money into the house. You know, a 1-parent family. You know, my brother was getting married and was going to go out, so there was no income coming into the house. Someone had to go out and earn the money, and that's what I did. I left school and I went and I done manual labour for a while. But it doesn't mean that I'm less intelligent than anybody else. It doesn't mean that I'm an idiot. It doesn't mean I don't understand stuff if someone explains stuff to me. I have a lot of comfort at the moment. I'm listening to books because I was so desperate to read books when I was younger, and I couldn't do it, and it really frustrated me. And I can't write stuff because my spelling's not great, and I tend to write how I speak. A great comment from one of the magicians at the circle said to me, "But once I understand your post, because I understand how you speak, and so they can read my post." Some people come to me and go, "I didn't understand that," but that's because I write how I speak. But it doesn't mean I'm not intelligent or I don't understand things. I understand things perfectly, and and I sit here and I watch quiz shows and I answer a lot of questions in the quiz shows, and I get, well, someone says, "Why don't you go on one of these quiz shows?" And I go, "No, because when I think it's completely different when you're there, you know." So I think we measure intelligence or things because people, oh, he went to university, he must be more intelligent than me. But that's so wrong. I think it's a wrong attitude to have, and I see it all the time. So to say to somebody you don't understand or you don't know because you haven't, I think he's wrong. He's the old, you don't understand someone unless you walked a mile in their shoes. I don't think that's particularly right. I think you can understand and empathise, and if you listen to what they say, you can understand why they're saying that. Yeah, I think I went off in there, didn't I, a little bit?
No, not at all. And I think you make a very valid point, Martin. And I think the more that you talk and the more that you're opening up and talking honestly and frankly, the more people will understand where you're coming from.
Mm.
And where you're coming from is actually a real position of hurt, because you had so many knockbacks in your life where people have made you feel inferior, where people have beaten up your self-esteem, it hurts, doesn't it?
Mm. Yeah, no, it does. It does. You know, like the bullying thing at school really started when we couldn't afford football boots, and my mum had bought this really 1920s clog boots that were like almost still toe capped things that I went and played, and just people just ridiculed me for that. So I never really went down that sporty line because of that first real bad thing that happened with the football boots, you know. And then again, people always judge you for who came before. I got judged because of my brothers. Went to the same school. So when you went there, they assumed that you were like your brothers, and we're not. We're not. Me and my brothers are so different, so different. And it's really interesting that your brother or your sister went to the same school as you. They immediately assume that you're the same person, and you're not. You just you know. So there's that. There's all that as well that builds up on you. And like I said, I wasn't a big kid at school. I was only a thing, and I used to get, because I'm not violent in any way, shape or form. And again, you know, I used to get bullied quite a bit, but I was strange in the fact that I didn't hide from the bullies, and never hid. So when the kid said, "I'm going to get you after school," like, I'd still walk out the front gate. I wouldn't try and sneak out anywhere or avoid them. I never avoided them. They hit me, I never hit them back. I never hit back. So they'd hit me, and in the end, they gave up because they weren't getting anything out of me. They weren't making me cow down or hide or do anything like that. So in the end, they gave up. They gave up bullying me. One of the kids, it punched me in the stomach, and I just looked at him. So, you know, what was that about? You know, so that all happened at school, and then when I moved to Hertford from London to Hertford, and I went to that school, the kids there immediately thought that I was some sort of hardener, that I was, because I come from London, that I was gonna. So they tested me straight away. They picked on me straight away. They had a go at me straight away to see if I had the sense at that time to turn around and go and went for them and put on an act, I reckon I'd have become one of the bullies. But I didn't, and then I got put in that class, and then there was the stigma from that, and you know, the constant thing. The only thing I was really good at school was drama and art. They're the only two things I was really good at, and I got CSEs in both of them, you know. So what can you do? So there's all that that's in our past, and that's what makes us who we are, to, you know, who we become. When I left school and I started working, I took martial arts. I'd done karate for a while, and then I took a mixed martial art private lessons. And now I don't have to fight because I know stuff. So I don't have to. And then when I became a bouncer, I never really had to hit anybody because I knew I stand in a certain way, by looking a certain way, people back down, and they do. They back down because they're not sure. When people get into, I went to this martial art, got invited to this martial art club to go and train with them some years ago. When I was doing a fate as like a sort of a clown, and I went in their arena and was chatting to them and started doing nunchuckers and stuff. Oh, you could come and train with us, and I went to train with them. and we done all the warm up, and then they paired us off, and the guy in front of me got in a stance ready to fight, and I just stood there, and he goes, right, are you ready to spar? And I went, yeah. And he looked at me, and because I was just standing there in a natural way, he didn't know what to do. He walked away, and they sent another guy over, and he got in a stance, and I was just standing there, and he goes, right, you reckon? I went, yeah. And he went, oh, hang on a minute, and he went away. And then the instructor came over and said, no, none of my guys want to spar with you. And I said, why? And they said, because they don't know what style you're fighting. And I found that really odd and really strange. And I goes, well, this is my stance. This is how I stand. If you come at me, I'll defend myself. I know how to do that, you know. And when people find out that you've done martial arts, sometimes you've got, I've got one place I worked, got challenged by a guy, and they kept on and on and on and on at me, and I just kept refusing. And in the end, we locked the shop. I locked the shop up, and we went down into the basement area, and he tried to beat me up, but he ended up on the floor because I knew stuff. He went in. I think he thought he was, you know, Bruce Lee or something, the way he was acting, and I just put him on the floor straight away. It's quite interesting of that perception of who you are. And again, I'm not interested in. I'd rather talk to someone than punch them in the face, if you know what I mean. And when I done security and bouncing and stuff, and I worked nightclubs, it used to get a bit hairy, and you know, there was a few fisticuffs sometimes. And the whole time I done that job, I only ever hit two people, and the whole time I was there. And one was to get a guy off of one of the other bouncers, and the other time was, I didn't really hit them. I just pushed them out the double doors, out of the safety doors. So I didn't really hit them. But afterwards, it just made me feel, it's the adrenaline thing. It makes you feel sick and stuff like that. And I came home and the adrenaline was going on. I was shaking, and I just said to my wife, I don't particularly want to do this job anymore. If it's going to start escalating like this, I'm not a person who wants to. I don't want to fight. So maybe that's why I'm not. This is another thing. I don't want to fight. So that's why I'm not standing. That's why I'm not thinking. I'm just letting it go, because I don't want to fight.
And I think that's absolutely right. But listening to your history, and it's probably fair to say that the fight's been beaten out of you, hasn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. There's not really any fight there, I suppose, left. The only thing I'm passionate about is this job, is magic. That's what I'm passionate about. That's all really I think about all the time. You know, my kids say it, and my wife's, that's where my head is all the time. It's never really anywhere else. I mean, I like cars. My son has a go at me for liking cars a lot. But, you know, because you know, we're out in our car, we're doing something, and I'll say, oh, look at that, and oh, that's, and he just goes, that you love cars. You love cars so much that you know, he calls it car porn. He goes, Dad's watching, because I watch a lot of the sort of car shows that are on the, you know, like Top Gear and stuff like that. And he says, oh, Dad's watching his car porn again. You know.
And it is, I mean, what's happened is you've effectively become a victim, if you like, of not only your upbringing, but the bullies at school and all of that sort of stuff. And I think if ever there was a sort of epitome and a sort of warning for people as to the devastating effects it can have, then Martin Cox would be a prime example, wouldn't he?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, we all have down days as well earlier on, and I think it stems from a lot of that from them years ago now. And now you get in your mind that it's not fair is the wording that's in your head. Why does that you look at other people and you think, why have they got that and I haven't? Why has that happened? And I can't seem to bridge that. I'm very good. Like I do explain to people, I'm very good at the job. I'm not very good at the business side of the job. That's my problem. Not very good at the business side. I tried networking. I've tried lots of different things, and I try to learn it, but it doesn't feel natural to me, you know. And it's that I find it very false, and I don't like that falseness as well that people seem to have when they're networking and because their mental state is it's about they're trying to sell to me, and I don't want to buy it, and that's how I feel. And now I've got to do that. I've got to go and try and sell that. And like I said earlier, and I want people to book me for me. So if I'm giving this false persona that I want you to buy my product, which is me, I'm going to have to put on that suit and be that person. And I find that really difficult.
And I understand. And what I love about the current situation, Martin, and this is what I love about doing this show, is that it gives people an opportunity to cut through the artificial. Because fake shows after a while, and when you sort of turn around, and I've done those shows, and you've had people on, and they're all performance mode for 5 minutes, and they're selling this book, or they're selling this show, and selling this product, and then off they go, thank you very much, that's all we've got time for. And you find out nothing about the person.
Yeah.
The reality is, this is introducing the real person, looking beneath the kimono, and looking about what's molded you as a character. And what I've discovered in just talking about you is that actually there's a lot of unfinished business there, and there's a lot of hurt, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you know, doing this is giving me this food for thought, if you like. I've sort of been not into. I don't know. You know about the Alpha course, you know.
Tell me at the end. Tell me.
Well, it's a Christian course for people who are like atheists or other religion based to go on this course to understand God and Jesus and stuff. And I've got a good friend who said to me I should go on it. He's part of it, you know. He's a Christian, so I went on it. I went on one, and it was okay, but I couldn't do it because of the times and stuff. And now they're doing Zoom ones, and I've been sort of coerced into doing this show, the Zoom course. The Alpha course, and we're probably in our third week now. And my children are worried, thinking that I'm looking for God. And I'm not looking for God. I'm interested because I want to be educated, more educated in different areas. Because like I said, we consider ourselves, I consider, people say that because they've come up in the course, funny thing, that people say they consider that they've got Christian values in the fact that they try and treat everybody the same and they're kind to people and stuff like that. And I can understand. But they're saying that's not really being a Christian, because you have to give yourself, let God in, if you like, or let Jesus. It's about Jesus. Let Jesus into your life. Okay. But when I'm listening to what they're saying and what they've got another guy on who's an atheist, me, which I call myself a Darwinist because I believe in evolution. So, you know, there's all this treat people like you want to be treated yourself, which is what I try to do. But I'm not looking for God. But it's interesting to listen to what they're saying and what this atheist is saying and the questions that come up. And literally I sit there and I just listen. And then they ask me what my opinion is. And I find it really difficult to say when I think you're talking about a ball here, because to me, trying to analyse it, to me, the Bible is a lot of different stories to try and teach you a lesson in in life. It's not necessarily true. I don't think you can say that for fact that happened. The atheist wants proof, but they say it doesn't work like that. So it's really interesting. And now we're into it's tonight. I've got one tonight. You watch a small video. They send you a video. You watch this video. It's about people. They're talking about God and Jesus and stuff, and they're explaining things about the Bible. And it is interesting, and it's interesting to see what their point of view is. And I'm not dismissing it, and I'm not looking, but maybe I am looking for an answer. Maybe I am looking for that answer of what it is, of why we're here, or what we're doing. Because I think when you get to a certain age, which I think I'm getting to, is in your head you think maybe I've got another 30 years left. All right, because I'm 60 next year. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to make at least 92. But what's the point? Why have I existed? What have I done to make a difference in the world or to anybody? What have I done? I may have helped people in the past. I may have touched them in a way. I may have cheered them up. I mean, I had an instant. I came off stage and a guy said, "I'm really glad I came out to see you. I've just come out of hospital from really bad. I was really, really depressed. I've come out and seen the show. I've so enjoyed it. I've had such a laugh. I didn't think I'd be able to laugh again." Which is really beautiful in the fact that someone's appreciated what you did and that's helped them in that way. And then I've done shows for people with disabilities and learning difficulties, and I've had afterwards the people who run them come up to me and said, "You're just so different to everybody we've ever booked for people, because you treat them all, everybody. You don't hold back. You don't talk down to anybody. You're not talking to me instead of the person in the wheelchair. You're talking to the person in the wheelchair, which happens a lot. You talk to the person who's pushing the wheelchair, not to the person in the wheelchair, and you don't know what their mental state is or where they are. When I met my wife's sister has a disability, and I met my wife through the club called Fab Club. That's how I met my wife, sort of how I met my wife. It's particularly true, but and I used to go to this club, and there was a guy there who was very, very intelligent, but because he couldn't walk very well, he couldn't really speak very well, but he had a really good job. And just one day, this thing happened to him, and he was immobile. His name was Bill. He was immobile. Had a brilliant sense of humour, and I learned some of the best disabled jokes I've ever heard from disabled people. But because I treated everybody, because I got to know him, and I knew how intelligent he was, or how I would say, don't say intelligence, because I'm putting intelligence up there, and I shouldn't really be doing that. He was just he's a lovely person, you know. And when people say to you afterwards, or think, "Thank you, you know, you treat me the same." I've done a show for a blind girl. So a mum rang me up and said, my daughter's going to be 7, she's blind. She really wants to be treated like everybody else. She wants to have a party. She wants to have a magician at the party. Would you come and do it? And I said, yes, of course I would. And she said, you're the first magician who said yes. Would you be able to get her up to yeah, no problem. So I've done sponge balls, I've done cut and restore rope with her because she could feel the rope and stuff like that. And afterwards, like, the mum was so thingy because I didn't treat her any differently to all the other children there. I wasn't particularly careful in my language. I wasn't thing. I got her up, done the tricks, and she went back. And I'd done a thing for the Deaf Society. And again, the thing about that, you have to learn the timing. You've got to change the timing because someone's signing for you. So you have to change the timing slightly so the joke works. And again, it's one of those really odd things that you get praised for. But I wasn't any different than I would have been if I'd done another show. And I was doing, funny enough, I was doing a lecture and there were 2 deaf magicians at this lecture. And we had a signer. I don't know, you know Shula, don't you? Shula was signing, and there was 2 deaf magicians in the audience who I knew were there. I'm doing the show, and I got this kid up to help me. And I says to the kid, I says, make a magical sign. And he'd done this. And I went, oh, no, don't do that. That's swearing to the deaf people. Right? So she signed that. And all of a sudden, there was this laugh at the back of the room. But all the hearing people thought I was being very rude and horrible to the deaf magician. But they got the joke. Right? But some people didn't like it. Didn't like it because I made a joke about the signing. But the deaf people didn't get offended by that. And again, I think that happens a lot in our work, that people get offended for someone else and they shouldn't, because they don't know, or they don't know them.
It's what we were touching on beforehand, isn't it? And
yeah.
It's not offence. And when you're talking about people with disability, or talking about deaf or in a wheelchair or anything, it's about the underdog and the outside of society. And you feel that yourself, and you feel as though you're the underdog.
I think I do, but I don't verbalise it. I don't really verbalise it to other people, if you see. I don't make a big thing of it, because I think sometimes you shouldn't do that.
But, but everything you said today, Martin, and peeking beneath the kimono and talking about your life, throughout all of that, you've got all of the characteristics of a victim. You've had a really tough upbringing. You've been bullied. You felt like an outsider in the various clubs. And you're searching for your sense of purpose, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my wife is brilliant. She really is. Again, I think it took me a long time to find that person. And I'm so lucky in the fact that I found that person. And I hope that she feels the same. That we have this really lovely connection, and we do make each other laugh, and we do outrageous things, and we wind our kids up. And my kids are great. I've got 2 kids. I couldn't have anything else. I've got the stuff that most people want or would strive to have. I have that. I have a house. I have 2 great kids. But I think are great. Obviously, I think they're great because they're my kids. But they do things, and my kids say things to me that about their friends' parents, and that their kids don't particularly like their own parents. Their friends don't like their parents. But they say because we're honest. My daughter asks me questions, I'm honest. I tell her straight. She asked me what I was like when I was a teenager. I tell her. She asked me, I have a great example. We was at an event in a queuing up to get somebody's autograph, and there was a couple behind us, father and a daughter. They were talking about when he was a teenager, what did he do? And the most outrageous thing he did when he was a teenager, he stayed up to 1 o'clock playing Dungeons and Dragons. And my daughter turned to me and said, what was you doing when you was a kid, Dad, when you was that age? And I went having sex with women and stealing cars. And she just found that so refreshing that I just said it, right? One of them is only true, because I couldn't drive. That didn't stop me stealing cars. So there's that I am honest. My daughter asked me about, did I take drugs when I was younger, and the answer is no. And I explained to her the reasons for that, and that's again to do with my eldest brother, who it's hard to say this, but I don't know whether he's alive or not, and that's really hard to say. That I don't know. I don't know where he is. I don't know whether he's still alive or not. I looked up to him when I was a child because he was great, and his life went to complete pot. He ended up on drugs. There's so much there, and I think I've seen, and that's what. But I said to I explained to her why I don't like drugs. This is the reason I don't take drugs. Oh, I can't really say that. That's so I don't take drugs. Okay, and I used to drink alcohol. I used to drink quite heavily. But there was a turning point in my life, and I make a joke out of it. Do you remember Live Aid, 1985? Well, I don't, and that's why I stopped drinking. Which is it's true. It's funny, but it's true. I got absolutely so bad that when I woke up, it was Sunday. I'd actually missed Live Aid, and it annoyed me that I'd missed such a great piece of history that I missed, that was in my life, and I missed it because I was so drunk that I didn't think. I have the DVD of it. I've not brought myself to watch it yet, but I've missed that piece of history because of drink. So I stopped drinking. So I don't drink alcohol. So, like when she asked me about that, and I like I said, I'm just totally honest with my kids. My kids ask me, I tell them the truth. I don't lie about anything. They ask me about previous relationships that I had with people. I'm honest about that. They ask me how I feel about certain things. I'm completely honest about that. Admittedly, like I said, I do have down days, and I guess I shut down. Is how I describe how I cope with that depression, if you like. That feeling. I've had some really bad ones recently because of the situation when we can't work. I've tried to do Zoom stuff, and maybe I keep thinking maybe I should go down the producing line of this particular profession because I'm very good at putting acts together. People work together because I'll still run it, but Friday Night Magicians, I ran in a local thing. I got off my butt and I went out and I found a venue and I put the thing together, and it runs regularly, and I'm very good at putting acts together to say this act will work with this act and this act will work with that act, and I'm very fair in the fact that even if I don't like a particular act, but I know the audience does, I will still book them. Yeah. So I mean, I've had a couple of acts that I've watched and I thought, I don't particularly like them. But afterwards, I've talked to the audience and they thought they're really funny or they really liked them. So I booked them again. Because it's not about me, that show works because it's not about me. And I know other shows that only book acts that they like. And I think that's not right. They should book people the audience like. And I think that stems back that I was saying earlier about the club, that the people who are in charge of booking the acts at that place are only interested in people they like, or people that are named, not particularly good for the audience. Yeah. And I think this has happened, and it's happened to me. And I know this has happened to me. I was used for a particular show once, and I didn't get booked again. The audience absolutely loved me after the show. People just kept coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you was the best thing in the show tonight. You did." And the person who ran that show was on, done a piece, and they didn't get the praise that I got. They've never booked me again. They're doing themselves a disservice because they're not giving the audience what the audience wanted. Then people are going to come back who saw that show, saw me in that show, and come back. And I had it with an American couple had come to a show I was in, and after the show they were talking to the person who ran the show, and they asked why they came to that show. And they said, well, we were in London, we had the choice, we could have gone and seen Paul Daniels, right? Or who was alive at the time, Paul Daniels and somebody else, and that. And the daughter said, who's on at this venue? And that, my name, oh no, we got to go and see. And they come to the show because I was on and they'd seen me before. They could have gone and seen Paul Daniels, but they come to see me. Which is, it's so nice. It's so nice. And you don't really get to hear that from people, if you know what I mean. You don't really often get to hear that. I just happened to overhear that conversation because I was standing in the right place. So you don't get to hear that. And we do need that as performers. We need that. Like I think you said earlier on, we need that gratification afterwards. People come up and say, I really enjoyed your show. Other magicians are not very honest in the fact that they will say, oh, they enjoyed it even though they didn't, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But I'd rather someone come up to me and said, oh, I really like your show. I really like, another magician maybe come up, I really like that. I'm not a fan of that particular thing. Right? And you take it on board and you decide at that point, well, did that work for the rest of the audience, or is it just that one person's opinion? And I have this with a particular gag. I have this constant, not battle, but thought is that I do this gag, and it's a throwaway gag, and I've been told it's a throwaway gag, but you could make that so magical if you'd done this. But that person who's telling me that is not a comedian. He's another magician, but not a comedian. And they're trying to convince me that I could make this a wow moment in my show, even though it's just a throwaway gag. But it works. The gag works. And someone said to me, they don't think it's that funny. And I said, when the audience stop laughing, then that gag's gone. But they haven't stopped laughing. And I don't think I need to make it magical because I'm a magician. And I think that's where their thought process is. It's because I'm a magician, it should be magical. It shouldn't be just a throwaway gag.
No, you're absolutely right. And what's screamingly obvious, Martin, there's a pattern here. I mean, first of all, you should put the gag in context, because everybody was screaming out, well, what's the gag? What's the gag?
Okay, so I say to someone in the audience, because of the way I speak, I say, think of a card. And then a couple of minutes later, I pull a fish out of my pocket and I say, is this the cod you're thinking of? It's the joke. And someone said, you should then say, so what card was you thinking of? And when they named the card, I pulled a card off. It doesn't need it. It doesn't.
And it's interesting that it's going back to what we said beforehand about a sense of purpose. And sometimes people feel as though they have to criticize or offer an extra bit of advice just to justify it to themselves. Because
Yeah,
most people come from a position of terrible, terrible insecurity.
yeah.
And you're very insecure, aren't you?
Oh, definitely. Oh, no, I admit that. Oh, definitely. 100%. Yeah. I mean, when you come off stage and people come up to you and they go, "Oh, that was really brilliant. I really enjoyed that." And in your head, you're going, was you watching the same show? Was you, was, that was really, really funny. I found that brilliant. And you think, did you really? But you don't feel it yourself. You really don't feel it yourself when you're out there. But that moment, when you're out there and you get that first laugh, it's great. It's the best in the world. It is the best. And like I said, sometimes you get that stage deafness. And maybe sometimes people don't. Yeah, when I've done the castle a couple of years back, I've structured my show now that I don't have any walk-on music. I used to have walk-on music, but I don't now. And the idea is to build up this false character and then destroy it. That's my process. So my introduction is, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who's won nothing. I get my first laugh, and I'm not even on stage, and I'm getting a laugh. Okay. Then I walk out, and I don't say a thing. I don't say anything. I walk, no music. I walk out, and I stop. Before I get to the middle, I stop, and I look at the front row, and I go, "What?" And then I walk to the middle, and I look, and I go, and then I walk to the other end and I grab my table and I have it just inside the wings. I grab that and I pull that out. And then I get a balloon out and I start blowing a balloon out. And then I stop and I pause and I look and I go, it's a balloon. And then I blow it up a bit more and then I stop again and go, it's a balloon. And then I blow it up and then I stop. And then I do my joke about the whales swimming in the sea. Oh, no, sorry. Then I do my introduction of who I am. Hi, my name's Martin. That's Martin. And my last name's Cox. That's Cox. And my middle name has the other 17 letters of the alphabet in. Not particularly funny, but true. Blow the rest of the balloon up, do the whale joke, then tie a knot in the balloon, throw the balloon up, catch the balloon, burst the balloon, and produce a bottle. That's how I open most of my shows. What I'm doing is I'm setting the audience up in the fact that they're thinking, oh, who's this guy? Oh my God, he looks really horrible, really mean. Oh, he's going to rip our heads off. Okay. Then once I've done that first spelling thing, I've got them going, huh? And now they're remembering my name. The idea is to anchor my name, and then I do the joke, and then they relax. At that point, they relax and they start to laugh. They've already had a laugh because of my introduction. They start to relax a bit and go, "Oh, this guy's quite funny, isn't he?" And then there's the big surprise, boom, and then I'm in. And then they've relaxed. They've seen that I'm going to be funny. They've seen that I'm quite warm, really. But I've really given that cold thing at the beginning. And I used to walk out with a baseball bat many years ago. I used to come out with a baseball bat. I'd put it on a little stand, and then I'd pull out a top hat, pop the top hat, and stick that on top of the baseball bat. And someone advised me that said, that's confusing your audience. It's confusing to your audience. And I don't think it is. I think what that's doing is saying to the character, it's that character that I'm portraying. It's people known me as the hard man of magic for years, and I can't really shake that. I've tried to shake it. I really tried to shake it. And I used to get introduced at the Magic Circle. He's known as the hard man of magic, but when you get to know him, he's a big teddy bear. He's really lovely, and that's what Alan Shaxton used to introduce me. Ali Bongo used to introduce me like that when I've done the shows, when I've done the Saturday shows and stuff. And I think that's a really nice introduction. It's really nice introduction. And like I said, I had the greatest respect for Ali. I've got a pair of Ali's glasses framed with a picture of Ali on my wall. And he was such a knowledge and a lovely guy, you know. and I'd really started to get to know him, and I had such respect for him, and I think he liked me in the fact that every time I'd done a show at the Circle, the Saturday show, or if I just went and took my son, because my son was a member of the Young Magicians Club, when I went, he'd always say, if someone had let him down, he'd always come to me, Martin, can you help me out? Somebody's let me down. Would you mind doing a bit? And I'd do it because it was Ali, and because luckily for me, all I need is a pack of cards and I can do stuff. And some Saturdays I'd be sitting at home and I'd get a call and it'd be Ali saying, "Are you working? Are you working tonight?" And no, Ali. Oh, someone's dropped out last minute at the Magic Circle. Can you come and do it? Yeah, sure. And I'd get in my car and I'd go and do it because I had such respect, and he had that. I think he could see something in me, or something in people. He could see it, and he knew. He had that knowledge that he knew, this guy, he would work, or he could work for this. And he helped me with the egg trick that I do. I was talking to him about that particular trick, that I wanted to put it in my act, and that I wanted to do it. And he said it was originated by a French magician who used to do it on someone's head out there, which made me think, oh, that is brilliant. Let's go and do that. And that's what I did. And then when he saw me do it, he said, "Oh, you misunderstood." It was done with 4 glasses and 4 eggs, and they'd done it on a mortar board or something. And I said, "I don't think you could get anybody to sit that still to do that trick, you know." But if it wasn't for him, I don't think I'd have that. I want to say mutual respect. I want to say that. But he recognised the value of me in magic. He recognised that value, and that's why he asked me to do things. And that's why we had conversations about stuff. He didn't see the uneducated person. He didn't see somebody who didn't go to university. You know what I mean? He didn't see that. He saw the person, and that's what I want from people in them positions. I want them to see that value. And I know that's about me, but I think there's lots of people that people don't see that value.
I know. It's no need to apologise. Of course, it's and what's screamingly obvious, Martin. It is all about respect, isn't it? Because throughout your life, and you've made it abundantly clear in very frank discussions that we've had, it's been fairly miserable. You know, you didn't know your father. Anybody, you know how important family is because your children are saying how important family is, and you haven't had that. You were bullied at school. You've had people belittling you throughout. You've had extra challenges. It makes it very, very tough, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And all the time, you're clambering for acceptance.
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I know, I get misunderstood of the way I am, because I do come across quite bullyish, quite bold, and maybe I do look unapproachable, and I accept that. I know that's a fact, but people don't bother making that transition of coming and talking to you. And this is one of the things that happens at that club, is you get that group of people, they will sit together, and you, as someone on the outside, it's very difficult for you to get into that, because they don't want to take the time to get to know you, to get to know about you. And it's very disconcerting to new people at the place. I go out my way to go and talk to new people if I can. And the other thing that surprises me, which is what I get in America, which is I said this to somebody else recently, is that when I do stuff in the US, people don't know my background there. They don't know that I didn't go to university. They don't know that. So when I go there, it surprises me that I'm known by other people there. So I'll go, and I've done Bob Little's convention. Bob Little has this two conventions a year, but he has a guest of honor, but they're the only guest. So they do their act, they do a lecture, and they're an honorary. You get badges and stuff. And it was just really odd that people were coming up and asking for my autograph. I found that really, no, it's me. You don't really look. Oh my God, it felt such weirdness. And that I'm more known and respected there than I am here. Yeah. So it's a really odd feeling. And I said to someone that in England, in the UK, you go so far in your career, and then it doesn't stop, but you get that really horrible feeling that you can't go any further, and nobody wants to help you personally. Nobody wants to help you here in this country. We get to that point. All the people have gone to FISM. The big thing. If you look at America and look at China and all the other countries that have FISM winners and people have gone to FISM, they've all had support from their societies, from their clubs. They run competitions so that you can become good enough to go to FISM. All the people in England that have gone to FISM have gone on, more or less gone on their own back, have put themselves forward. I don't know of it. Nobody's ever said, oh, if you want to become or do FISM, which if anybody doesn't know what FISM is, it's like the Olympics of magic. And England is represented, but I don't think it's supported in the way it should be supported to go to FISM, like it is in the States and it is in other countries. So as far as I know, the English people who've gone to FISM have not had that support from anywhere. They may have got help in funds of flights and stuff to get out there, but they've put themselves forward and they've almost gone out like independent, even though they're British, they've gone out as independent things. They haven't got the support from, they might have support from around them, but you know what I mean? They've not got that structure to follow to go to FISM. I can only think of British-wise of only a couple of people that I know have gone to FISM and done well, and I'm sure that they went off on their own backs. You know what I'm saying? So we don't have that here. We don't have that, and so you get to a point in the UK in magic, and then it stops, and we lose quite a few good people to the States and stuff because people are willing to help them, give them a break, and support them all the way through. And we've lost them. We lost Steve Bedwell to America. We've lost Keith Fields to America. We've lost loads to America because you can go further there. You get here, boom. Like a lot of the play, no theatres and that are not really interested in you if you haven't got a name or you haven't got on Britain's Got Talent. That's it. And most of the agents and people won't book because you haven't been on Britain's Got Talent. They won't book you.
Have you applied? Have you applied for Britain's Got Talent? Have you done the application?
No, because I don't want to go down that road. I really don't want to go down that road. I'd rather go on my own. And I've seen it ruin so many other people. I've seen.
Who's it ruined?
Well, you know, well, not ruined, but it didn't help. His name's gone out of my head now. That's terrible. But it hasn't helped. It didn't help Oh, what's his name?
That's why it hasn't helped him, because you can't remember his name.
I can't remember their name. It hasn't helped them at all. But, you know, there's certain people, and I've talked to other people, magicians who've done it because they want to get a tour, and they can't. They can't get a tour because they haven't got a name, so they've gone and done that, so their name's out there, so people will come and see them. And it's not really the road that we should be following.
Well, at the same time, I think it's very different. It has also helped a number of careers, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has its good point that it has brought up there's been some really good acts on there, you know, have done well. There's been some good acts that have not even made TV screen. And you hear, I've been told and hear stories all the time. Oh, Matthew Wright is a good example of that, and that got dropped. He started kicking up a stink about it and stuff, and all of a sudden it got dropped. It got dropped because they've got the backing to sue you or to, you know, you haven't got the money to take them on, really. We haven't got the money to take them on, so we don't. So, you know, and you know, I think the process is, I can't lie, I'm not going to lie, I have auditioned. They asked me for years, and every year I've said no. Every year I said no, and in one year I got approached, and they asked, would I go and audition? I don't have to queue up with everybody else. Now, I'll come at a certain time, I'll go straight in, I'll do the audition, I'll come out. And I'd done it because I wanted to see what the process was. I wanted to witness that process. I really wanted to witness the process.
And what was the process?
And I wanted to find out what the process was.
Well, what was your process? What was your experience?
Well, the thing is that they invited me to go because they'd seen me on YouTube, they'd seen me thinking, they thought I'd be thinking. I chose to do the wrong trick. I admit that I chose to do the wrong.
What did you choose? Which trick did you?
I've done the egg thing.
What's the egg? So, for those who don't know, what's the egg?
Right. Okay. So what I do is I borrow a bill or a note off someone. I destroy it, and then I get that person up. I put a glass on their head, a tray, a tube, and an egg, and then I knock the tray and the tube, and the tray and the tube goes that way, and the egg goes in the glass. And then when I break the egg, their note or their bill is inside the egg, signed inside the egg. Maybe it's a trick I shouldn't have done because I've done this and the egg hit the side of the glass and fell on the floor, so it didn't work. And I used my stock gags for that, and I shouldn't have done. I should have just.
Which judge did you get on?
Sorry. Which
judge did you use?
Oh, I didn't know because I didn't get that far. I only got as far as the producer's bit. Okay. The egg hit the glass, hit him on the shoulder, got egg on his shoulder, and it went on the floor. So it didn't really work. The gags didn't really work. It was a horrible process, I think. It was interesting to be part of that and go through that process. Maybe if I'd have chosen a different thing. The funny thing was, afterwards, I was at the Magic Circle performing, and they had two girls came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, we work for this well-known TV show. We'd love you to come on it and do it because we want that type of personality on there." And I went, BGT. They went, "Yeah." I went, "I'm not interested." And it was just quite strange that they'd come and came to the circle to see acts, to find acts to go on there. And I think it was a bit inundated with magicians at the moment, so I don't think it's not going to do you any good to go on there. I know people will disagree with me and that, but that's how I feel about it. And again, I'm at that age now that I don't think it's going to do my career any good. Especially if I go on and I get buzzed off, that's going to just totally, you got buzzed off, you know what I mean?
You're very worried about rejection, aren't you?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, that's there as well. I think that's deep-seated. Yeah, it's something that's really deep down inside, yeah. Maybe that's why I don't do certain things, you know, why I don't go and try it. It's I'll give you a prime example of why there's that blockage there for me to go and do a particular thing. Okay, I'm really interested in doing warm up work. I'm obsessed that I'd really like to do warm up on TV show because a comedian friend of mine who was on the ship is a warm up man. He was a very good warm up man, and he got booked to do two shows at the same time. They were in the same studio, but he couldn't do both of them. And he'd rung another warm-up man, and he couldn't do it. He didn't want to do it, so he called me because he knew me and he'd seen me on the ship, and he knows me. And he said, "Listen, I've got this warm-up. Would you come and do it? I know you can do it. Would you come and do it?" And I was so keen. And I went and done it, and it was brilliant. I had a great time, and it was da-da-da-da. But because I went through him, I'm not considered a warm-up man. Okay, they didn't recognise me. So I tried to get back in. I thought, oh, this is great. I really want to do this because I'm very good at. I call it comedy conversationalist. That I get booked now and again to go to parties and go to things just to go and chat to people, make them laugh and have a bit of fun. Not do any magic, just have a conversation. Awkward guests, things like that. It's a character thing. And I'm very spontaneous. I'm very good at that. If someone says something to me, and I listen to conversations and I get people to have conversations with me, right? So I'm good at that. So I think I'd make a great warm-up man. And I've seen lots of warm-up men. I've seen lots of them. And it's that, oh, I can do that thing. So I contacted an agency that book warm-up men, and they said, "Oh no, we only book stand-up comedians." Right, okay, fine. How can I? Well, you have to go and do stand-up. We want to see you in a club doing stand-up. Okay. Not really my thing. I've done a stand-up course. I admit I've done a stand-up course earlier in my career. I've done two actually. I have done a little bit, but it's very. I think it's difficult to do magic and stand up because I don't write that way. You see what I mean? I don't write in a stand up way. I study a lot of it, but I don't write that way, and I don't think that way. So, but to become a warm up man, you either have to know a lot of warm-up men who are warm-up men who are willing to help you become warm-up men, because I've tried that avenue as well, talking to warm-up men who I've seeked out and messaged and stuff, and they've all more or less said the same thing to me. They've all said, "You've got to be a stand-up comedian."
But I can tell you, Martin, you probably know this, and probably what you're mentioning it. I used to do a lot of warm-ups when I was a baby barrister. I warmed up Cilla Black's Blind Date. I did a couple of series of Hail and Pace. I did a whole series of Give Us a Clue. So we did lots of 10 television, did some stuff with John Fisher, did Des O'Connor, This Is Your Life. And I used to warm up a regular Saturday show called Motormouth. I don't remember that as a kid.
Yes, yeah.
But I used to go down to Maidstone Studios. I did an awful lot of warm-up. And it's just filling the time and chatting to people. And did a bit of magic, and I gave some to my magic friends as well. But it's a great life. And actually, pay-wise, I know people never talk about pay, you will sometimes get more than the presenters on the show. Because that's just what happened. And it was a wonderful life. But the way I got it is they saw me doing, I was doing a outside for what used to be alternative arts on Street Magician in Covent Garden. And
Oh, right.
I took part in the competition Street Magician of the Year with Keith Fields. You mentioned Keith earlier. So he did that. And they saw me there. And they invited me
Right.
to come along and do, I think, one of the syllable acts. And it just went from there. So it's
I
not
don't.
about going through agents. It's about knowing people and just getting out and doing stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is what I became. A friend, a mutual friend of ours, Dave Allen, has become friends with one of the big TV shows. We go and watch it being recorded, and he became friends with one of the presenters of this TV show. And last time we went,
Little Alex Horn, probably, wasn't it?
Little Alex Horn.
Yes.
We got invited to go in the green room, and we went in the green room, and it was great. And I had a really lovely conversation with Joe Brand about different things, and I met somebody who I really like, a comedian I really like, and they all asked me, "Oh, why didn't you take a picture with them, take a selfie?" And I said, "Because if I take a selfie with that person, I become a fan, and I want to become a friend. And you only take pictures of selfies with your friends when you are friends, not before. So I want to be their friend rather than just be another person taking a selfie with me." So that was quite interesting. So I was talking to one of the producers there, and we were chatting about that particular thing about wanting to be a warm-up man. And later on, I found out that he was very good. He worked on a lot. He worked on magic shows. He knew Anthony Owen really well and stuff like that. But I didn't find that out until I became friends with him on LinkedIn. And he said it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's one of those things. And what you got to do is you got to get your first one and get recognised for it. But I'm having that situation that I can't. Well, especially now that I think it's going to be even more difficult because of the situation we're in. But that's the sort of thing I'd love to do. That it's not that I'm not desperate for fame. I think a friend of ours that you might remember, John Gordon. Do you remember John? I've had lots of conversations with him about it, and he said you've got to decide what do you want to be famous. You've got to decide what you want. And I think the problem I have is I don't know. That is one of those things. I can't set myself these goals because I don't know what they are. And I've been trying to take these courses and these things and they all tend to say that you need to know what you really want, and I don't.
And it touches on what we said throughout today. It's about looking for that sense of purpose. John I know very well because he was also brilliant. He did a lot of the design stuff for Toya. With albums and connection, and a lot of the artwork on some of her sleeves and things like that were done by John. So he's a great guy. But it touches very, very clearly. And we're going to pick up on this next time when we're going to bring you back, and we've got lots to talk about because I know you've got a few doors you have to sort out today. But to finish on this is that what I have to say is that you have shown today that actually there's an awful lot going on in your life. There's a lot of unfinished business. There's a lot of hurt. But the fact that you've been so frank and honest and shared your pain, you can see that sort of side. Actually, what the sense of purpose, Martin, is that you're helping other people who are going through the same sort of difficulty. And that is much more worthwhile than a lot of the other rubbish that we've been speaking about. Is that fair?
Yeah. No, I understand that. I'm completely with you there. You did the silent thing again, awkward silence. We're scared of that. Do you know that? We're scared of silence. Performers are scared of silence, and that's why they and ah so much. But sometimes that is more impact than actually speaking or and ahhing. That gap, we are scared of it because it sounds like it feels like a long time if you're completely silent. But it's an art to be brave enough to do it. You do it very well. Yeah. See what I mean? Because someone has to break the silence, and you're making me break the silence, which I think is very clever at this, my friend. Very good. I admire you for this, by the way. I think it's one of the best things to watch at the moment. I know I'm on it. I know I'm saying that. I think it's very educational and helpful to especially at this time, because we are all going through such thing. I'm going to tell you this because it might interest you. It might you might want to say later on another time. Is I've had some really bad down days and really low one. And my wife actually said to me, she was going to bed, and I was having a thingy, and she said, Are you gonna be here when are you gonna come up later?" I think what she was saying is that I was that low that am I gonna, you know, I don't think I'd ever do that. I don't think that is in because I am a fighter in that way. Mentally I'm a fighter in that way. And I don't think I don't think I cross that line. I'm not saying I've never thought about it, because that would be lying. I wouldn't say I haven't thought about it. But I couldn't do it because of I know what it would do to everyone else, family wise. So I couldn't do it for that reason. And it was just interesting, and I found it really nice that she recognised that she recognised that I was that low that particular day. And I know that's not a really good note to sort of finish up on, because I've got to go and do stuff today. As I said to you earlier on, that I need to go and do some, I desperately need to go and do stuff. And my wife's going to moan at me now. Thank you. She's only in the other room, so she can hear me. Well, I need a second then. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So it's not a note really to finish this bit on. We really should finish on something funny, but I can't think of anything at the moment. So,
and I'll tell you why it's a good point to finish, Martin, is that this is real, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah. It does it brings it home, and it brings it there. And again, it's one of those, we find it difficult. Because like I said, I'm sort of really old school in my thinking. That I don't, that it's not it's I suppose a stiff upper lip type mentality that's drummed into us as younger people. And my mum was very strong, because she brought us all up on her own, more or less. Because I say my brothers, but they're really my half brothers, because we're from two different dads. So I have two older brothers who are from one father, and then there's me and my brother John, who's from the father I never met. So I'm not really close to my biological brother John. I'm not that close to him. I'm more close to the middle brother Chris. Me and him seem to have this same sense of humour, the same thing. He's a little bit. He don't look as tough, but you wouldn't. If you, he'd more likely hit you than I would, if you see what I mean. But he doesn't look like he would. He looks a little bit like Cliff Richard. He's very nice. He's just a nice guy, really. He gets rid of all his frustrations by fishing. He goes fishing. And like I said, my older brother, we haven't seen. I don't know if he's alive or not. So I don't know where I'm going with this. So it's, yeah. I think I don't know. Well, I don't know where I was going. Where was I going?
We were saying that this is real, and what I would say, Martin, you have a tremendous amount to offer. What you've talked about today will be massively beneficial to many people going through the same sort of struggles. And your honesty is perhaps one of the purposes in your life, because if you can give some comfort to people to say, look, they're not alone in this. You've gone through some very dark times. You've had a really tough life, and you have. You know, it's been very, very difficult, and at every turn, but you're a survivor. And that's anything. Martin Cox, the survivor, is a pretty good legacy, isn't it?
I suppose so. I suppose, yeah. Yeah, I know that I suppose that we're looking for that sense of purpose. And like I said, you don't really see it, do you? You don't. Not that you need. I suppose as performers, we need to see that. And that's what the frustrating thing is, that sometimes you don't see what you've done. I mean, I know it's hard to say that some people we know have taken their lives, and it's sad that they didn't ask for the help, or they didn't ask or talk to anybody, or feel that they could talk to anybody about it. And that's really difficult. I mean, that Daryl, for instance, in America, and that it's just sad that he felt like that he got to that point that he had to do that, and that's really sad. That as men, I think that's where I was going, we feel that we can't have that conversation, even with other men. It's difficult. I think I'm fortunate that I am quite honest with my friends. That I have a couple of friends who I meet up sometimes for coffee. We have them conversations, them deep conversations. We are particularly guarded. You're right. We are particularly guarded in the fact of our nature of what we do as a profession. That we are, because we're scared that someone's going to steal our idea or
what's your wife called? It's
Sue.
We should. I'll tell you what. For the last, get her to come and sit with you on the settee.
Of course, she's coughing her things up.
Right. Sue, where's Sue?
It's calling you, Sue.
Come on, come in here. You can help Martin wrap up. I want to make sure he's okay. I want to make sure you're okay. Come and sit down on the settee. Make yourself comfortable.
No.
There you go. Come and sit down here.
He's meant to be at work.
I know, I realise. That's okay. But Sue, it's lovely to meet you.
And you, hello.
Hello. I found out all about your wonderful cup behind you, which I think is running over. You forgot about that, didn't you?
I did forget about that, yeah.
Fantastic. I've never met you before, and it's a real joy. I have to say, you have got one hell of a man there. He's wonderful. He was saying, he spent most of the interview saying how lucky he was to have you. And I think you two make a lovely, lovely couple.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let you have him back, because
I feel like I'm on Gogglebox.
He's got lots of jobs to do, so yes, please do.
I know. He did say to me, I've got a few chores to do. But we're going to get him back. But Martin and Sue, and thank you both so much for spending so much time with me today. It has been really, really inspirational. I think for a lot of people, it'd be a great, great help. I wish you well, and I look forward to welcoming you as my guest next time. Thank you very much for joining me. Take care.
Well, thanks for inviting me, mate.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, it's over here.
So, Martin Cox, the previous hard man of magic, and the reality is that there are so many issues there which touch so many people out in the bigger, wider world, that if you can share about your experiences, you can share and talk, you do realize that you're not alone. If you'd like to talk about your experiences of being touched or affected in any way, do write to me. If you'd like to come on the show, write to guests at Octopus TV. Don't forget to subscribe to Octopus TV, at Octopus TV, at Andrew Eborn, and continue to follow more brave people talking about their lives. We will get Martin back. It was a joy and indeed a privilege to have him on the show today. And thank you to you for joining us. But until next time, Andrew Eborn saying goodbye. God bless. Look after yourself. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.